everybody, and welcome back to the Youtinees Show and the 2024 Youtinees. This is our annual award show where we celebrate the best in Star Wars books and comics, and now TV as well. I'm Eric, and I'm here tonight with Corey and Wes. And fellas, I gotta say, for our audio listeners, you're looking mighty fine tonight.
Thank you. We have not done this in a little while. It feels good to put on the old suit again, little bow tie, for the award show. We did this. We did the show back in 2020 is the first year we did it. Then we did it in 2021 and again in 2022. And then things kind of fell off in 23, and we did not do it that year. But we were bringing it back for 2024. This is the year. We're going to try to keep it up going forward. And this year's a little different, right, Eric? We have categories we've never really had before. So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Obviously, the biggest change for any of you that have been with us for the past Youtinees is that we're adding TV categories. Now, Youtini does cover every single piece of Star Wars instead of just books and comics. So we put the nominations up a couple weeks ago, so you'll notice things like Best TV Performance, Best TV Character, Best Show. That's going to be up there with Book of the Year near the end. And I got to say, as we went through the process this year, it was really fun incorporating all of Star Wars. And it made me realize we were kind of holding ourselves back with not acknowledging things like The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and Andor the last few years,
Right.
Yeah, it's good
for sure.
Incorporate all those characters that we weren't talking about. I mean, hopefully, eventually, a lot of these characters will be put into literature and publishing so we can continue on their stories. But as of right now, we got them in TV shows, might as well celebrate them.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And then
before we know it, it'll
be
movies too, which will be exciting.
Oh God, Best Star Wars Movie of the Year. Although Star Wars, if you want to release one a year, that's okay. That's fine. Take your chance. You'll win automatically. Whatever movie that is. But before we get started on the winners tonight, we do want to take you behind the scenes a little bit. In past years, we've had a couple different ways of selecting the Youtinees. We've had a big community vote. We've had a World Wide Web vote. Where hundreds of people submitted votes. And this year, because we're starting to get in the rhythm a little more, we did handle it internally. Our whole team of Youtini experts nominated all the nominees you're going to hear about tonight, and then did internal voting. And there were a couple categories that got additional rounds because they were tiebreakers. I got to say, in all of our years of doing the Youtinees, I went back to look at our previous tallies. We had some of the closest races we've ever had by percentage in the history of the Youtinees this year.
That's good.
Yeah, we totally did.
And then we have some fights to the end. So at least it isn't once like it's weighted one side or the other. We have
exactly.
We have a lot of opinions, and a lot of opinions have a median at least. So good.
Right.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's been interesting over the years to see how the voting has sort of concluded, because in the past we have done things both internally just at Youtini with our team. We've also expanded out into our community and our socials. And 1 year, I think in 2023, we went really hardcore to try to get just as many votes as possible. And that year, the voting was kind of all over the place.
The Darth Vader comic win. The infamous
The Darth
Youtini.
Vader comic win. Yes. That was when we sort of realized that, like, if everybody votes, like, people just vote for stuff that they recognize. So it's hard to, when you're voting over this much content, it's hard to encourage folks to maybe not vote if they haven't like read all the content or that's in that particular vote. And I think the comics community kind of strongly disagreed with the results that year. So we're continuing to evaluate. Yeah, we did.
This year we ensured that internally, not every category was mandatory for everyone that voted. So people like our Cosmic Force friends kind of really led a lot of the comics voting this year. They obviously are the masters of that, and some of us that have followed up got to vote there. But maybe if you haven't read every book this year, we allowed some folks to abstain, but they could vote for some of the TV awards and things like that to make sure that we get the most accurate awards possible. But I think, fellas, that's a lot of business, and I feel good about it. I feel like you are informed as an audience, but you don't care about that. You care about the hardware. There's no actual hardware, but there is Pride on the line. So without any further ado, I think it's time for our first category, Best Star Wars TV Character. And the nominees are John Nanawood from Skeleton Crew, Kimir from The Acolyte, Neil from Skeleton Crew, and Kim from Skeleton Crew. Here's the envelope. The first winner of the 2024 Youtinees is... Gotta get it. It's Neil from Skeleton Crew. Best Star Wars TV character. Congratulations, little blue guy. Fellas, this was not one of the closer votings. I'm going to be straight up at the beginning. This was not.
I can definitely see this being a landslide.
Neil, wow. But from the second I think we saw his concept when it was pitched, this Youtini was already in the bag.
Yeah, for sure. He's such a lovable character, and I think, once everybody saw his first scenes in Skeleton Crew, they were like, "Wow, this is going to be the guy that's going to be hard to beat." John Donawwood, I would think that he might get the closest, but I think Neil edged him out by probably 100 votes if we had that many.
If we had that many people with the ratio, yeah. But we had I will say, this is our first TV award ever. And of the night, of course. And Corey, you made some notes as we were talking about the show. We had a really good year of TV this year, didn't we?
Yeah, we really did. We were trying to backtrack because when we're getting so much Star Wars content on a regular basis now, it's easy to sort of forget what actually has come out in the whole year. So we're kind of scratching our heads and literally double checked. In 2024, we got Bad Batch Season 3, Tales of the Empire, The Acolyte, that was last year, remember, believe it or not, and Skeleton Crew. So we have 4 TV shows all last year. So pretty wild, honestly. And yeah, this one didn't surprise me at all. You combine cute and a really likable, well-written character, and you win. That's how it goes. So
yeah. He actually, if nothing else, if you haven't seen the Skeleton Crew finale, the way that Neil handles himself in the face of danger too made sure that he wasn't just a mascot character. Robert Timothy Smith did a great job. Although this wasn't an acting award, this is a character. So Robert, you did great, but you don't have a Youtini yourself yet. So congratulations to Neil.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And there were some other great characters too. It was, like we said, it was a pretty close vote. Chimere still got my vote. That's who I voted for.
He's phenomenal. One of the best Star Wars villains we've had in years.
I'm gonna let you finish, but Chimere, I'm just saying.
I as well voted for Chimere.
Okay. I honestly might have voted for Jod, but you know what? We abide by the system, and Neil is definitely deserving, but not all the great characters this year, of course, were on screen. Some of them were just in our minds on the page. So, Corey, why don't you set up our next category of the night?
I would be happy to. Our next category of the evening is Best Star Wars Book Character. And here are the nominees. Churro the Hutt from Beware the Nameless. Marcion Rowe from Temptation of the Force, Tempest Breaker, and Defy the Storm. Elzar Mann from Temptation of the Force. And finally, Bell Zettifar, once again, Temptation of the Force. Lot of representation from Temptation this year, and here is the winner. And the winner is Elzar Mann, Best Star Wars Book Character of the Year. Again, Temptation of the Force. Yes, another excellent one. Elzar Mann was certainly due to win something with as much representation as he has had as a character throughout the entire High Republic. Would you argue that Elzar Mann may be the best High Republic character in general? I might make that argument.
I don't think that is outlandish to say. At least maybe Jedi, because Marcion has a soft spot for me, but his evolution, I think, is the most impressive. And Temptation of the Force, obviously, him being on the cover with Avar, he's kind of getting the spotlight really for the first time. And if the Trials of the Jedi cover is any indication, he's leading the charge quite literally in the final book. So, yeah. I hope this Youtinees win motivates him going into Trials to really give it his all. Now that he knows that he has the respect of our community, so a lot of love for Elzar.
Sure. I think you might be right on being one of the best Jedi so far in the Star Wars, but basically because he's made it this far, and he wasn't on Starlight Beacon.
He's literally alive.
He's literally alive.
He made it. He made it.
No, he He made that murder on Starlight Beacon and is the reason
That's right.
that
That's
Stellan went down. But he didn't let that take him down. So yeah,
He just eliminated the competition. That's all.
He knew the 2024 Youtinees, Stellan would have been coming for him. So he's like,
Yes.
I gotta pull a Tanya Harding and really just take him out a little bit early.
For sure.
But you mentioned, Corey, that we had a great TV year, and we also had a really great book year. We did the same thing looking back. And we had books this year like Defy the Storm, Tears of the Nameless, Temptation of the Force, all the High Republic stuff. And we also had the non-High Republic, Living Force, Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire, and the Mace Windu Glass Abyss. I mean, we had all kinds of eras as well, all types of books represented. And the fact that a character from Temptation, which skewed a little more in the romance area, I think is a really nice kind of look forward as far as Star Wars books go.
Yeah, for sure. And our entire team really liked Temptation too. We gave it very high marks. I remember that the team really loved it this year. So it feels like it does feel like Phase 3 is really ending on a high note, which is really great. So big stuff happening on High Republic. And speaking of big stuff, I think I'm going to turn it over to our next presenter for the evening. For Wes, tell us what you are going to be presenting for the evening.
Yes, so keeping in line with Best Character, we are moving to Best Comic Character. And the nominees for Best Comic Character are Dr. Aphra from Dr. Aphra, Lando Calrissian from Star Wars, Keeve Trennis from The High Republic, and Tensu Run from Inquisitors. And the winner of Best Comic Character is Keeve Trennis from The High Republic.
Keeve Trennis!
Thanks, big stuff. I'm gonna call you forever now.
I know you need to run through your next category like a wrestler announcer. Wes.
Don't you tempt me. I'll do it.
Now coming down from Western North Carolina is Keeve Trennis
from parts unknown. Keeve Trennis. The microphone coming down from the ceiling.
Yeah, for sure.
Budget. That's what I'm talking. We gotta up it for next year. But speaking of characters that are due, I mean, Keeve Trennis has been the face of High Republic Comics since the start. And I mean, this year we're seeing the darker end, I think, according to Kevin, but she's had a great year. And I think that I was looking at this category and I've read most of these. I haven't read Inquisitors, I'm going to be honest, but our comics team really liked it, said it really did a really nice job. But Keeve was always, again, much like a Neil situation, I think was going to take this.
Do we know who won second place for this? May have been Tensu Run because he survived Order 66, and that's kind of like Order 66.
People really do like that.
Yeah, I know.
People really do like that. Here, you know what? Let me bring it up right now. I'm gonna look at the graph here. Comic character.
Take a look at the data.
I'm just gonna keep. Okay, I'm looking at the data. Back to the data. All right, second place. Oh my gosh, Dr. Aphra was second, but 1 vote below Aphra was Tensu Run.
Okay.
Tensu Run.
So
Very
again,
good.
one of those very close things,
was
but
tight.
Keeve did win pretty handily overall.
We look back at last year too. 2024 was a massive year for comics. We had a ton of comics and graphic novels come out last year. I think I counted in the range of in the 30s or 40s of graphic novels that came out last year, which is kind of insane. That doesn't sound right. I'm like questioning it, even just saying it out loud. But we had a lot of content come out last year, for sure, single issues and graphic novels. So. Massive year for comics, and I can't say I am that surprised by seeing a 1-2 sweep for literature with High Republic content. It's very interesting thinking about what is going to be next in Star Wars. What's the Youtinees going to look like going forward? Is it going to be more of a single initiative like this? I guess we'll find out in April for Star Wars Celebration in Japan.
Absolutely. All right.
All right,
Eric.
Eric.
Some good comics time.
Kick us off on the next one.
I shall. Thanks, big stuff. I'm going to keep that going.
Oh, boy.
This next one was open to all mediums, but it did mostly live in the realm of TV, and that is Best Moment And the nominees are the Darth Plagueis reveal in The Acolyte, Episode 8.
Oh, he looks so scary.
So creepy. Osha bleeding a Kyber crystal in The Acolyte, Episode 8. Big episode. The Stranger versus the Jedi fight in The Acolyte, Episode 5. And the moment when we realized Skeleton Crew wouldn't exceed all of our expectations, right? In Skeleton Crew, Episode 1. And the Youtini for best moment goes to The Stranger versus the Jedi fight in The Acolyte, Episode 5. One of the best choreographed lightsaber fights truly in the history of Star Wars, and that is not a bold assumption.
Yes.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. I
definitely
certainly
voted for
could be in the fight for the best choreographed lightsaber fight ever, which is crazy. We've had some really incredible lightsaber fights over the years.
Oh yeah.
And I really do think that this moment in the show is one of the most standout lightsaber fights in history. It was just so good. Even the haters of the show were like, okay, this was amazing. We freaking loved it.
We try to overanalyze and figure out character development things, and the Acolyte had a lot of beautiful things like that. But then sometimes he just headbutts a lightsaber. Like that was
right?
like, I'm like, come on, what are we doing?
Awesome.
Like, I just remember watching it in the morning it came out, and he just like blocks it and then turns and goes boom, and I'm like, oh my god,
haven't seen that in a while. Or at all, and plus they showed all the behind the scenes footage of them doing the choreography of that, and that was really interesting to show us like exactly them performing most, if not all, of the moves, and there wasn't a lot of CGI involved with that, except for the helmet with the lightsaber.
Yeah, that's right.
No, they found Cortosis actually, brought it on set.
All right,
they only had a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, the Cortosis for sure. That was probably one of my favorite moments of that. That was really when we realized that was what it was too, right? Was in that moment. So it was a lot. It was a lot that happened in that episode that really made it stand out. I need to go back and watch it again for sure.
Oh, for sure. And the Acolyte having 3 out of 4 of those moments, even from just nominations alone, really shows just how much that show had an impact from moment to moment basis. But then Skeleton Crew getting 3 of the characters show like they're each so good in different ways, and I think that's been the real strength of Star Wars in 2024 was the variety of different stories that we had. This was a great moment for aesthetics. I think it really looked cool as well as felt cool. But speaking of aesthetics, as he segued naturally, Corey, take us into our next aesthetic category.
That is correct. Our next category, with a hint of visualization, this is going to be the book cover of the year. And this year's nominations are The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire by Dr. Chris Kempshaw. Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss by Stephen Barnes. Tears of the Nameless by George Mann. And an unusual nominee, but a nominee nonetheless, Star Wars Bestiary Volume 1 by S.T. Bend. And the winner of Book Cover of the Year goes to Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss. And well-deserved, in my opinion. This one absolutely had my vote. This was clever. I love a good, clever book cover. Don't you guys agree?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, using the symbol of the Jedi, and half of it looks like his lightsaber, and the other half is his flowing cloak as he bisects it with his actual saber. I mean, we have had some covers in the past few years that have been a little more like, okay, this is a photo shoot that we put on a cover and put some filters on. Fine. But this year, all the nominees, I got to say, like, really took the meat of the book and made an artistic representation of it. But yeah, this one, when it first got announced, I was like, oh, we have not seen a book like this in a while.
I know. Not in a good while. Not in a good while. The cover really stood out. The mix of like the Jedi like symbol with Mace Windu in the center like that is just really awesome and clever. He kind of looks like he's doing a really funny stretch, though. That can't be comfortable to stand in that position.
No, not at all. It's force training, He's really just.
Look at him. Look at him. Can you imagine, like,
runs?
Can you see what he does, like what he looks like from the side, like the side profile? It's nuts.
Yeah.
For sure.
Kind of like a weird version of warrior pose, but with a flowing cape.
For sure.
I mean,
For sure.
On top of all the book covers that were there, I mean, specifically if you're going for aesthetics and you're going, say, walking into Barnes and Noble and you see this cover as opposed to some of the other covers that have come out in the past years, you're like, you know what? You may not buy it, but you're going to pick it up and look at it. And you know, that's probably half your sway of whether you're going to buy that or not. And you pick it up, you're like, you know what? This one might be it. If you haven't even read like more than the front and back cover, and you're like, this one might be the one.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Whoever said you can't judge a book by its cover, it's not true. It's why they make covers.
You can judge it
literally to judge them. Okay,
You can judge it. You can judge the cover. You know, not the whole book by its cover, but you should judge the cover a little bit, just a little bit.
Well deserved. Well done.
I do have to say, I'm not at all surprised that it's Mace Windu that's in the goofy pose on the cover of the book. It's very fitting for a character of his caliber. Yes,
Wow.
for sure.
That's an old bit.
And I do have to say that so far everything is proceeding exactly as I have foreseen, including Wes presenting our next category.
And our next category, most anticipated project that hasn't happened yet. Okay.
That is what anticipated means. That is correct.
That is what it means. Well done,
And
Wes.
the nominees are Andor Season 2, Trials of the Jedi by Charles Soule, the Rey Skywalker movie Untitled, and the Reign of the Empire trilogy. And the winner of most anticipated project that hasn't happened yet goes to Andor Season 2.
Andor Season
I wonder
2.
what's gonna happen.
How will it end? If only we have been told that for 3 years.
I know. We are we have just began our official like rewatch in our community. But we've started watching season 1 again. We watched episode 1 last week, and this week we've got to watch episode 2. I've not watched episode 2 yet.
Not yet,
you
me
know,
neither.
on the rewatch. I got to watch it again before Wednesday when we start talking about it. But man, episode 1, it's so good. Andor is so good, and I honestly can't wait for this show. Although everything on this list is incredibly anticipated, though. I will have to say.
Yeah, I mean, Andor. To say Skywalker Academy in the chat, this was a landslide. This was one of the most landslide votes.
Oh, really?
Ever, period. Oh, yeah.
Even like over a movie that might come out of one of the best Jedi to ever live, but that's fine. I didn't vote for Andor Season 2. Just to throw it out there.
Just in case anyone was wondering. No, that was good. But then I thought Trials of the Jedi, honestly, would have a bigger shot at this. That being said, that is ending the entire High Republic. Andor is ending one of the best shows we've ever seen. The Rey Skywalker film is starting possibly a new entire era of Star Wars for decades. And the Reign of the Empire trilogy is bringing some of our favorite authors with some of the coolest characters in one of the darkest periods.
And we got a trilogy. Finally, trilogy.
Yes. Like,
trilogy.
really, really great projects. And this was another one that we decided was going to be a cool category this year because this is what we talk about. We talk about what's coming. Like, the Star Wars community is really excited about the future. And it's nice as we're looking back to reflect on what a great year it was that, oh no, we have a lot of stuff still coming. We are a continuously alive franchise. But Andor Season 2, especially now that we have a release date of just over a little over 2 months, right? Until it comes out. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely
We're
can't
at
wait.
something like 10-ish weeks, I believe, is what's left. So
And an honorable mention from Steven is the Bad Batch book that didn't actually make it to the nominees.
Sanctuary,
But honorable mention, the Bad Batch book.
that's right.
We'll
Which we
take
got
it.
that's right. That's right.
So with performance, kick it off, Eric, on our next category.
I would love to. So next up is another new category, Best Star Wars TV Performance for the actors themselves. And the nominees are Jude Law, Jadna Nolwood, and Skeleton Crew. Jude Law's in it.
Jude Law's in it.
Manny Jacinto as Khmer in The Acolyte. D. Bradley Baker as the entire Bad Batch in The Bad Batch. And Amanda Stenberg as May and Osha Anasea in The Acolyte. All right, and Youtini goes to Jude Law as John Nanawood in Skeleton Crew.
Jude Law's in it.
He's in it.
He was in it. Did you guys know Jude Law was in Skeleton Crew?
Oh, man. This was one, I didn't know how this was going to go when it came out, because a couple of them are interesting, right? D. Bradley Baker is playing 4 characters. Amanda Stenberg is playing 2 characters.
Right, yeah.
So all this stuff was crazy, and Jude Law was a big star. I know we were a bit, not concerned, but I think wary a bit of an A-lister kind of leading a show. How is he going to mesh in? But from the first moment he appeared at the end of the pilot all the way through the second episode of Skeleton Crew, for me, I was like, oh, he is a character, and this is by far my favorite performance of the year.
Yeah.
Most standout new character in a very long time in Star Wars, honestly.
Yes.
And if you had told me when they first announced the show that Jude Law was going to be in the show and was going to be like an absolute master class in performance and acting and dialogue, like I would have been a little like surprised, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Just it didn't really seem like to be the type of range that he would have as an actor. But Eric, you and I love him in The Holiday, so this is perfect.
Mr. Napkin Head.
Mr. Napkin Head.
Really, this is a makeup Youtini award for when he didn't win for Mr. Napkin Head back in 2004.
Correct.
So we're helping to change history here by giving him one for Jod. So, and of course, the way Skeleton Crew ended, who knows if Jod will ever pop up again. This series may have a season 2. The showrunners have said that they have ideas where it could go, but who knows with the numbers and the financing, blah, blah, boring. But the fact that Jude Law had such a good time with it, clearly has already been to some cons with the kids reuniting and stuff, was delightful. But of course, none of that matters. We don't like what he does on screen, and we absolutely did. So very well earned Youtini for him. Now we're going to go and take another detour back to a thing we haven't touched in a while, which is comics. We have 2 back-to-back comic awards. So, Corey, take us away with the first one.
I would be happy to. Our next category is Best Comic Writer. Now, these are the writers of the comics, not the artists, the writers specifically. And this year's nominees are George Mann with the High Republic Adventures Echoes of Fear. Charles Soule with the Star Wars mainline comic. Steve Orlando with the Ewoks comic. And good friend of the show, Cavan Scott with the High Republic Adventures Saber for Hire. And the Youtini for this year's Best Comic Writer goes to Charles Soule with the Star Wars mainline comic. As usual, Charles Soule is cleaning house at the Youtinees. Every time this man shows up to write a comic, he delivers. Every time.
Yep.
Every time. He's 100% right. Wait, I messed that up. He's right 60% of the time, 100% not. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He's good. He's a good writer.
It's the Anchorman thing. It's the Anchorman thing.
Anchorman thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. And
you can't be fooled.
It's called Sex Panther. What?
That's Charles Soule's nickname, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, what's honestly impressive about his win here this year was that this was the end of his Star Wars run, and this has been a very long, like, multi-year run. He's been going for a long time on this book before ending the kind of post-Empire stretch of it. And I feel like a lot of series sometimes wane a little as they go on, and by the end, you're kind of ready to be done, but he just kept up the quality. I mean, this year was the trial of Lando Calrissian and like all these other arcs that really kept up the stakes, and now he's going on to write Legacy of Vader. A spoiler for next year's Youtini nominee, I'm sure.
I know, I'm sure.
There was some steep competition here from past Youtini winners, so like...
Yes!
Yeah, for sure.
Oh
For
yeah,
sure.
and the Ewoks comic, not the only time it'll be mentioned. Spoiler alert! I mean,
That
that's
is
out of
true.
nowhere.
Multiple nominees. Yeah, Ewoks comic was very popular with the comics team and our community, for sure. I love the artwork on the Ewoks comic covers as well. It was really fun. Really seemed like out of left field when they announced that comic, and it was like kind of a surprise hit, for sure. But yeah, every time Charles Soule shows up, always does an incredible job.
That's tough. Charles Soule shows up.
Charles Soule shows up. Charles Soule shows up.
Soule
for Star
shows
Wars
up.
comics on the Youtini show.
We're gonna do that now before every show, every Monday night before we go live.
That is right.
One way out. Sorry. Okay.
Charles Soule shows up. Yes, exactly. Speaking of showing up, Wes, I believe you're going to show up and deliver our next category. So, Wes?
Yes. So, keeping with the comic theme, we went through the best comic writer. Now we're doing the best comic artist. So, nominees for that category is go. Harvey Tolabau for The High Republic Adventures. Rachel Stott for The High Republic Adventures, Saber for Hire. Madabek Musabekov for Star Wars. And Vincenzo Riccardi for The High Republic Adventures, Echoes of Fear. And the winner for Best Comic Artist goes to... Vincenzo Riccardi for The High Republic Adventures, Echoes of Fear.
Hooray!
Yay!
Congratulations.
Awesome. This was a tight one. This is one we had to have a tiebreaker for. Internally, there was so much good art. And I gotta say, looking at it now, I didn't realize this as we were voting. 3 High Republic Adventures comics show the power of Dark Horse this year. Really coming on strong. Like, Marvel
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
3 Dark Horse artists really rocking it.
That's awesome.
We were reviewing some of the artwork too when we were leading up to the show, and the artwork for Echoes of Fear, it really stands out. It's not just kind of classic. Here's the panels. This is what happened. Somebody's in a hallway talking. Like it's very artistic, very flamboyant. Like a lot of stuff is happening on the page, and like it's really what amazing comic art really stands out. Sometimes Star Wars can be a little repetitive, where you can open a comic panel and be like, this could literally be any point in history. You're on a ship. I get it.
Right.
But some of the artwork in this book particular was impressive for sure.
Yeah. So if folks haven't checked them out, because I know that some of the miniseries are a little less read. They came out at a little more irregular intervals. But the trades for both Saber for Hire and Echoes of Fear are either out or will be out soon. And that's a great way to kind of get a one and done story going on with those, to kind of see some characters you may not have seen in a while. And of course, not only is the art great, but written by Kevin Scott and then George Mann for this one. You obviously know that the writing quality is going to be great. But the comics are where the artist really shines. So Vincenzo, also I believe his first Star Wars work. I didn't double check that before we started, but I think it's his first. It will not be his last. Really,
that's wonderful.
Stuff.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying that I haven't signed him, but if
you're not involved.
He's a Youtini winner now, so I think that you legally have to give him another book. It's how that works.
All righty,
well
Eric.
done.
So sticking with the writing. Let's look at the end-all be-all of writing for this next category.
Let's do it. We are going straight to the written word. This is one of the last awards before we get to the big 3. This is Youtinees Author of the Year. And the nominees are George Mann for Tears of the Nameless, Tessa Gratton for Temptation of the Force and Defy the Storm, Dr. Chris Kempshaw for The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire, and Stephen Barnes for The Glass Abyss. And the Youtini winner for Author of the Year is... I really closed this one pretty good. All right. It's George Man for Tears of the Nameless.
All right.
The man.
The
The
man.
man
The
himself.
George man. The
The
man.
George Man.
The George.
Yeah. Author of the year. So this is specifically for the writing of the books themselves. We mentioned in our review of Tears of the Nameless that it's George's best written book, and he's been writing so much High Republic in the last couple of years. Comics, middle grade, YA, adult novels, and it seems like he just keeps truly getting better and better and better with every project, which of course culminates with the Youtini win. I think that's just how it works.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really tremendous year for him.
Some definite sleeper hits in here too. Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire was particularly special to me as well from this year. Very unique book. We've never seen anything like that before. And to see Chris nominated for that one as well is pretty awesome. So a lot of really awesome writing from this year, and feels good in a lot of ways to see George get this win because this one was a solid read for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And a lot of first-time nominees on here, too. Like you said, Chris with Rise and Fall, it's his first Star Wars book, I do believe. And, to be an in-universe fiction retelling that is so politically interesting is great. Tessa, having been around the High Republic for a while, getting her full adult novel and co-writing Defy the Storm with Justina was really great to see. And then Stephen Barnes coming back to Star Wars after decades off. Again, just a lot of cool individual stories, a lot of great different voices. But, George just wrote kind of his magnum opus this year, so author of the year is where it goes. But
well deserved.
Oh yeah. And in that intro, I mentioned the big three, and now that we're in TV, we do have the big three categories. This is essentially our versions of Best Picture in all the categories. So this is where the stakes get higher than ever. This has all been warm up before. But Corey, lead us off in the first of our last three big categories.
It would be my honor, Eric. The first of the big three categories for the 2024 Youtinees is the Best Comic Series. And the nominees this year are The High Republic Adventures Echoes of Fear by George Mann. The High Republic Adventures Saber for Hire by Kevin Scott. Star Wars 2020 by Charles Soule. And Ewoks by Steve Orlando, pardon me. And this year, the winner of the Youtini for the Best Comic Series goes to Star Wars 2020 by Charles Soule. And again, Charles
Soule.
Congratulations.
Charles Soule.
Right. Charles Soule, that's right.
This was, behind the scenes, the closest big category. Well, the second closest, because we did have an actual tiebreaker. But second, third, and fourth place all tied, and first place won by a single vote.
Oh.
This was an incredible year for comics, everybody.
That's right.
That's it, not to dilute the win of Star Wars. It was incredible, but every book was well-loved.
Is the last vote that broke the tie anonymous, or can we name the person who made the vote?
They're anonymous.
We're going to dox them.
They're going
We're going to dox them on the air. We're going to give their address and their phone number so you can find them. And
man.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, another solid year for comics. I think we'd love to get the Cosmic Force team to weigh in the future for Youtinees. I think for sure. Really amazing year for comics. Again, incredible to see Ewoks in there. I still feel like that was a sleeper hit of the year. That one had my vote. So, pretty
Eunice bringing out the brooms for the Charles Soule sweep. Yep, got writer and series. Well done. So that book is great, and it's also finished. So those of you that only like to read completed comics, there's like 50 something of them. So go ahead, and now you can read the 2020 run all together, knowing that it ends in a Youtini winning run.
And speaking of finished, I am now finished. So, Eric, let's hand things over to you for our next category.
Oh, no, it's Wes's turn, man.
Oh, just kidding. We're handing over to Wes. That was a test. That was a test, Eric. That was a test.
I'm on it. Go ahead, big stuff.
So, our second to last category of the 2024 Youtinees is Best Star Wars TV Show. And the nominees are Skeleton Crew by Skeleton Crew, The Bad Batch. And The Acolyte. And the winner of Best Star Wars TV Show of 2024 goes to Skeleton Crew.
Woo!
All right, Skeleton Crew.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Skeleton Crew. We've said it 1,000 times in the show already.
Blew our expectations for sure.
Totally did.
Absolutely. Out of the water.
Absolutely blew our expectations out of the water for sure. Acolyte. I still can't believe that came out last year. It feels like a million years ago.
The Bad Batch seems like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It does seem like 2 years ago.
Yeah. It seems a while, but yeah.
And also ended so strong. I mean, what a great. The fact that we have so many shows that are so good all together in a year of Star Wars, where Star Wars television to this level didn't really exist 4 years ago, is truly unbelievable. So, massive fan. Massive fan.
Not really like knowing what to expect when we started with Skeleton Crew. I was sitting on the couch watching this with Bethany, and we both looked at each other, and we were just like, this is pretty damn good. Just after the first episode,
I think that pretty much sums up. I think everybody's response to watching the show is we're all sitting there watching. We're like, wow, this is like excellent. Like, what's going on? Like, this is super good.
Really good. And now, I mean, you show it. They got best character, best performance, and best show. Of course, the moment going to Acolyte, but Skeleton Crew. Oh, it's like a gentleman's sweep, right? Like 3 of 4. Very solid job by Skeleton Crew. And again, as we said earlier, we want it to happen, but even if it doesn't come back, even if this is all we ever got of that show, it is an incredible 8 episodes of Star Wars television in one basket, and absolutely deserved to be our first ever Youtinees award-winning Star Wars television show.
That's right.
Well done, Skeleton Crew gang.
And finally, Eric, we'll kick it off to you for our last award of the night.
All right, this is it. This is the big one every year. This is essentially our best picture winner. It's Book of the Year, and behind the scenes, this did need a tie-breaking poll. We did not have a clear winner after first round of voting. We had to go to another set of voting because we had such good representation. These books were fantastic top to bottom. So without any further ado, our final award of the night, Book of the Year. Here are the nominees. Tears of the Nameless by George Mann. The Living Force by John Jackson Miller. Temptation of the Force by Tessa Gratton. And The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire by Dr. Chris Kempshall. And the Youtini for Book of the Year, joining books like Light of the Jedi and Thrawn Ascendancy Chaos Rising, is Tears of the Nameless by George Mann, Book of the Year 2024.
The man gets himself another one.
The man, best author of the year and book of the year as well. That is, that's pretty solid. Pretty solid,
Not
George.
Too bad,
author
George.
of the year
Not
and
too
book
bad.
of the year. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
Like
right.
best director, best picture,
Yeah.
right? Like
I know.
kind of like heralded
It turns
but
out writing really, really good will also win the award for best book.
sometimes. Yeah,
That's
but
right.
this book really just took our whole team by storm this year. And in a time where the High Republic, sometimes depending on adult novel or YA, like they kind of have their own storylines and they don't necessarily affect things as much. Tears of the Nameless felt so crucial and like such a culmination of everything that the High Republic had done so far, written in a way that was worthy of author of the year, honestly. Like it was really
for sure.
something special and kind of defined the Star Wars books in 2024. So, pretty awesome. But I mean, what a crop of books to come out. I mean, all 4 of these books can be more different and more worthy, honestly.
Yeah, that's right. And we had like 6 adult and young adult novels this year. So, it was kind of a light year in some ways
a light year.
for books and novels and young adult novels. But still had a lot of standout books. Very curious to see what's continuing to come down the pipeline for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got Trials of the Jedi, of course. As we said earlier in the show, the Bad Batch Sanctuary is coming out. We have the two
we got the title
Acolyte
recently.
Yeah, the title and the cover, which looks great. The Acolyte books, Wayseeker and Crystal Crown are coming out. So, and Star Wars Celebration in 2 months, I'm sure is going to tell us at least a couple more we have to look forward to. But that's the batch. I mean, what a year. What a year of Star Wars. Why I love doing this, why I'm glad we brought it back, is because we get so wrapped up in the now and the future.
Yeah.
I forget all the good stuff that we got to witness this year, all the great, amazing storytellers that we got to interact with. What a year 2024, truly.
It's a great way to remind everybody of what came out and what you may have missed and you need to go back to review.
Yes.
It's honestly, frankly, incredible that we can even have a show like this, considering the sheer volume of Star Wars content that allows us to do this. So it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. We're in this sort of lull period in some ways between movies. We're experimenting with TV shows. We're experimenting with books in a lot of ways. I think The High Republic is a big experiment in a lot of ways. In the future, as we've been saying for a while, it feels like it can go in a lot of different directions. Youtini is going to continue to be here for it. And next year, we will continue to bring you the Youtinees for 2025. So big year this year as well. Andor coming up. Lots of good projects coming down the pipeline. I'm really excited to see what's coming down the pipeline for books and comics in particular. And hopefully Star Wars Celebration will be full of additional surprises as well for the release schedule. I hope so.
No question. So we got 2 months until that happens. Until then, we'll, of course, be here every Monday night bringing you everything that's going on the Youtini show. And make sure you stay tuned to youtini.com for everything you need to know about what's going on and what's happened in the past. We got the release schedule to make sure you don't miss anything. We got the timeline so you know where it all happens. And like Corey said, next year we'll be back with the Youtinees, bigger and better than ever. But everybody, the envelopes are done. The winners have been announced. And I think it's time to say goodbye to 2024 officially. Yeah, that's right. There we go. Envelopes are done. Down at the camera. Thank you all for tuning in to the 2024 Youtinees. We'll be back next week with your regularly scheduled Youtini show. And until then, may the Force be with you.